Yes.
Good to go.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Bukola Agbola. I'm a GIS specialist at the Siege Center. Welcome again to the 2023 symposium. I apologize for not being live. I am under the weather, so I have to do it remotely. And I apologize in advance if you hear me cough during the presentation. Today, we're going to look at the CDC Environmental Justice Index. We're supposed to do the Maryland Park Equity, but we had an issue with the server. So we decided to model the CDC Environmental Justice Index instead. So I hope you enjoy the presentation. So what is the CDC Environmental Justice Index? On August 10th, 2022, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, that's the CDC, the Agency for Toxic Substance and Disease Registry, ASTRA, Department of Health and Human Services, and other agencies came together to provide a single cumulative environmental justice score for neighborhood across the United States. And this is with intent to assist in identifying and mapping areas most at risk for health effects of environmental burden. What is environmental justice? Environmental justice, there are so many, there's no single definition for environmental justice, but it can be defined as the equitable treatment of all people, regardless of their race, their origin, their income, and allowing them to participate in the creation and enforcement of environmental laws, because these laws affect them in the long run. Environmental justice can also be defined as advancing health equity and eradicating environmental health disparities by treating all people fairly and meaningfully in environmental health policies. The CDC is an environmental justice screening tool. The tool provides data for both demographic, environmental, and health factors, and with the aim of showing vulnerable communities that are overburdened by pollution. It is the first tool that developed a cumulative score, that's a single score, to show the impact of each of those indicators on the communities. Reasons for environmental justice. We have so many reasons why there should be environmental justice. Because some people are disproportionately affected, mostly people of color, disadvantaged communities, low-income communities, and indigenous people. These communities face environmental threats that continue to impair their health and are surrounded by social inequalities. The combination of social environmental risk and social inequalities has a cumulative impact that impedes the health of different population or communities. For instance, take someone that has asthma and is staying in an environment that the air is polluted. That would definitely have effect underlying, even though the individual has an underlying health factor, living in that environment to further impound or worsen the situation. So the CDC look at all these indicators and create a cumulative score to show what is happening in communities. This is just a map showing a community. This is a county, Prince George County. Some residents in this county are faced with poor air and poor water quality. Prince George and Anne Arundel County, in addition to being disproportionately exposed to hazardous facilities. So this is some of the reasons why we need environmental justice, to check all these things that are happening in the community and ensure that underserved communities are being given resources to better their living conditions. Just a minute, my internet seems to be stuck. I will just stop this and share again. No. The CDC's Environmental Justice Index is the first national place-based tool designed to measure the cumulative impact of environmental burden through the lens of human health and health equity. The tool was developed by CDC in partnership with the Department of Health and Office of Environmental Justice. The Environmental Justice Index used data from different sources, such as the US Census Bureau, the EPA, the US Mine Safety and Health Administration, the Center for Disease Control, and rank all this data into a cumulative score to show the impact of environmental justice on health for several census tracts in the country. And this score shows identify areas that are most at risk from environmental burden. CDC Environmental Justice Index builds upon other screening tools. Like I said, it gets data from other tools and delivers a single cumulative impact for each census tract in the United States. So the level of analysis for the CDC is at the census tract level. When we're looking at, there's a census designation for the country, we have the state level, we have the county level, the census tract level, the block group level, the block level. But the CDC uses the census tract level to represent the cumulative impact of environmental burden on health. Census tracts are subdivision of counties. So what is the Environmental Justice Index? The Environmental Justice Index identifies and characterizes the cumulative effects of environmental, social, and health conditions facing communities across the state. That means it gives a cumulative score. So what is what we mean by cumulative effect? That is the combined impact of multiple stressors in the environment, and this impacts human health. So the EJI framework is made up of environmental burden. Those are environmental indicators, what we call environmental indicators, like pollutants in the air, the soil, water, all those, everything that has to do with the environment. Then we now have the social vulnerability indicators, which has to do with low income, people of color, unemployment rates, looks at social demographic characteristics of the community, and the health vulnerability as well. Maybe these are underlying factors, maybe those that have underlying factors that exposure to pollution worsen the situations, like those that have asthma, cancer, high blood pressure. All those are summed together to derive the environmental justice score. So, what is cumulative impact? Cumulative impacts are the overall depreciation of human health that result from the combination of social factors, environmental factors, and pre-existing health factors. So it refers to the combined effort of multiple action events in the environment. It occurs when the effects of this individual action or a sum up of other actions have a greater impact on individual. A cumulative impact can also be looked at as the long-term exposure to pollutants in communities, such as pollutants in the air, in the water, and lack of access to resources. If we have two individuals that stay in a location where there's air pollution, and one of them has maybe the ability to get air filters and other things, and the other one doesn't have, at the long run, the cumulative effect will be more on the individual that doesn't have the resources to better protect his or her health. So what are those factors that have cumulative effects in neighborhoods? These are the factors: racial segregation, urban sprawl, inaccessible resources, dilapidated housing, community design. Some communities are designed that it's more of built environments. Somewhere like Baltimore, they have a lot of built environments where you have lack of park and recreation centers, and this can cause other health challenges like obesity. When you have dilapidated housing, all those houses that are pre-1960, I mean, the person has the people staying in those houses have the risk of being exposed to lead poisoning. And some areas have inaccessibility, lack of fresh food, they don't have healthcare, and they don't have access to healthcare, unemployment is prevalent. And most times we find out that people of color are often concentrated in such neighborhoods that have been frequently disempowered, both politically and financially. This includes neighborhood near refineries, neighborhood near polluted water, neighborhood close to chemical sites. For instance, example, you can think of the polluted water in Flint, Michigan. You can think of the Cancer Alley in Louisiana. All these are examples of neighborhood that are experiencing environmental injustice that is affecting their overall health. We're also looking at neighborhood issues and cumulative impacts. So what is the origin of these neighborhood issues? Most times it starts from systemic racism, redlining, disinvestment in those communities, which expose those communities to extreme heat, unsafe water, heat island, food insecurity, and overall pollution exposure and worsen mental health. Heat islands are urbanized areas that are experiencing high temperatures, especially during the summer, because of buildings, roads, and different infrastructures that reabsorb heat from the sun and emit it back into the environment. So the purpose of the tool, why was the CDC EJ index created? It's important to ensure that there's health equity for all, and also to pay attention to the needs of those who are more vulnerable to poor health due to the environmental exposure they have in their community, and also due to social circumstances. So the tool was created so that public health officials can identify and map places that are most vulnerable to the health impact of environmental burden by using the Environmental Justice Index, that is providing a single score to score the community. And this tool can also be used to educate and inform the public about their community and what is going on in the community. And overall, to establish meaningful goals and measures and measure progress towards environmental justice and health equity. So what is the Environmental Justice Index? The Environmental Justice Index is a comprehensive index that identifies and characterizes the cumulative impact of environmental, social, and health conditions facing a community. So the EJI framework is a combination of environmental burden, social vulnerability, and health vulnerability. And the EJ index seeks to address cumulative impact on health and health equity. It focuses on communities most in need. It identifies communities experiencing adverse health effects associated with environmental injustice, and it tracks changes through time against meaningful goals. Excuse me. So the Environmental Justice Index consists of 3 modules. That is the environmental burden module, the health vulnerability module, and the social vulnerability modules. These modules are subdivided into domains, indicators, and that produce the environmental justice rank. The module consists of a total of 36 indicators, and those are the indicators that were used to produce the EJI index. So we're going to look at each of those environmental, each of those burden modules. So here we have the environmental burden modules. The environmental burden modules include 7 indicators. This indicator, when we talk of indicators, we're talking of ozone, PM 2.5, diesel particulate matter, air toxic cancer risk, treatment, storage, and disposal sites. Those are what we refer to as indicators. And these indicators, their presence or even absence in a community can contribute to the overall health burden of that community. The environmental burden module is also divided into 6 domains. We're talking of domain, talking of air pollution domain, which has air pollution data. Talking of potential hazard and toxic site domains, which have proximity vulnerability indicators. How close are these communities to this site? It also has the potential hazard and toxic waste. Yeah, sorry, there are 5 domains. That's the air pollution domain, potential hazard and toxic waste domains, which shows proximity to these sites. Then it shows the built environment domains, houses that lack recreational parks, houses built pre 1980, lack of walkability. And the transport infrastructure domain, and the last one is water pollution domain. So you can see it more clearly here. Here, the environmental burden, this is the model. And that model has 5 domains. And each of these domains have indicators, a total of 17 indicators. Next, we are going to look at the social vulnerability model. What is social vulnerability model? This is the term used to describe the potential harm that external strains on human health will have on a community. This could be disaster caused by nature or people, disease epidemics, and a sample of such stressors. So social vulnerability population includes those populations that have special needs, but not limited to people that without vehicles, people of disability, older adults, people with limited English speaking. The social vulnerability domain has a total of 14 indicators and 4 functional domains. These are factors, these indicators, they are factors that are known to modify or compound the effects of environmental burden on health. So what are these social vulnerability models? And the domains, we have racial ethnicity minority domain, which looks at the minority status. Socioeconomic status domain, it looks at poverty, if you no high school, unemployment, housing tenure, lack of health insurance, lack of internet. Social vulnerability domains also includes the household characteristics, that's a domain. Housing type is another domain, and those domains have different indicators. So looking at this, you have a clearer picture. So the module has 4 domains and 14 indicators. So next, we're going to look at the health vulnerability model. This model has 5 indicators, which represent the prevalence of key chronic conditions associated with environmental justice and health equity. And these domains look at the high estimate prevalence of asthma, high estimate prevalence of cancer, high blood pressure, prevalence of diabetes, prevalence of poor health. These are pre-existing conditions which can be worsened by environmental conditions. And these are also conditions that can be brought about due to exposure to environmental pollution. Excuse me. So the health model, those are the 5 indicators associated with the health modules. So now I'm looking at the EJI score. What is this EJI score? The EJI score is a score that is calculated by summing the rank scores of the 3 modules. That is the environmental body models. This model, all indicators, they are summed and they are ranked from 0 to 100 or 0 to 1. Then you have the social vulnerability models. The same formula is applied here. And the health model. So a summation of all these three models gives us the EGI score. That's the final ranking score, which is calculated in percentile. So this is just showing you further how these models are calculated. Environmental body model, percentile rank sum of environmental body, 0 to 1. Social vulnerability model, percentile rank sum of social vulnerability indicators and converted from 0 to 1. The health vulnerability model, this was calculated a little bit separately. And all these are summed together to give us the final EGI ranking. So now we're going to look at how to navigate the tool. This is the landing page for the tool. That's the website. You go to this website, you click on Explore the Environmental Justice Index, and it will open the tool in another window. When you access the tool, you have the web accessibility data, submit feedback data, and download the data. So this shows you on the left-hand side, when you look at the domain ranking, you see the domain rank, the overall EJ score for the whole United States. This the EJI is calculated for all the census tract in the US 48. It doesn't include score for the US territory like Alaska, Hawaii, because of lack of enough data to get a proper rank for those places. So this tool is limited to only the US 48. So how do we use the tool? We're still going to model the tool. This is just showing us how this tool can be assessed and how to navigate the tool. When we go into the demo, you have a clearer view. If you want to look for an area, you select the states. For instance, this is, I selected Maryland, and I selected all counties. So this will give me the EGI for all the counties in Maryland. Excuse me. You can also be more specific. You can choose a county you want to focus on. So still looking at Maryland, looking at Baltimore County. On the right-hand side, you see the legend that displays the data. So anything that is in the darker shade of green is very high. That's moderately high, low, moderate, and low. That is how the EJ score is ranked. They use, I think, the funny thing from the 75th percentile is considered high. It falls under the high scores. Another county that have been selected, still in Maryland, the Allegheny County. So here you can view the EGI score for this county. This is also narrowing it down, being more specific to a particular location. So you can choose to view a street, can choose to view a county, a census tract. So you determine what you want to view by using the search bar at the right hand of the tool. So this shows you the sum of the indicators. If you look at air pollution in Baltimore County, is on the 90th percentile, which is very high. The social vulnerability rank is also on the 89th percentile. And the EJ overall EJ rank for Baltimore is 0.94, which is a very high. That shows that this place is very vulnerable. It's a vulnerable community, and they are exposed, they are overburdened by pollution. So this is also narrowing it down. We're looking at the tool focusing on this county in Michigan. It shows you the drinking water crisis that has affected that county since 2014. So when you look at the tool, it gives like 3 examples of places that are overburdened by pollution, and they are facing a lot of health challenges due to water pollution. They are having chronic disease burden, and the residents of those communities are mainly identified as racial or ethnic minority. And those communities also face socioeconomic hardships. So how do you interpret the tool? Excuse me. UJI combines indicator into functional groups. Like we showed you before, it combines it into those indicators are grouped into models, into a domain, and those domains are further grouped into models. And this allows users to easily interpret the pattern of vulnerability and burden for communities. So the models can be viewed in the tool by toggling on the tab. When we get to model the tool, you will see how you can see the EJ index for those communities. So the scores are on the tract level. It doesn't have the block group level or the block level. It's only based on the census tract levels. And there are about 72,000 populated census tracts in the United States. And the EJI gives a score for those tracts. But notably the Alaska, like I mentioned before, and other territories, Hawaii, are absent because we don't have enough data to create a score for comparison. So this is how the EJI index is formulated. It's calculated by summing the rank scores of all the models and creating a rank, changing it to percentile, and creating a rank score from 0 to 1. So how do we interpret these scores? First of all, census tracts are subdivision of counties. So they are statistical counties for which the census collects data. So a percentile rank represents the proportion of tracts that are equal or lower than a tract of interest in environmental body. For instance, if the EGA ranking is 0.85, that is 0.85%. That shows that 85% of the tract in the nation likely experience less severe cumulative impact from environmental body than the track of interest. That is 15% of the track in the nation likely experience more severe cumulative impact from environmental body. What that means is if the score for a particular track is 0.85 percentile or 85%, it just means only 15% of tracks have a higher score than that census tract of interest. That shows that that score has 85% more severe impact than 15% of the rest of the country. So percentile is a measurement used to indicate the percentage of value in a set of data that falls below and above a given average. The reason why these scores are in percentile is so that they can compare. You can compare different regions, compare different states. So it gives a unit of analysis for comparison. You can compare what is happening in different tracks, different states, different locations. So this is an example of high percentile ranking. 0.89 is high percentile ranking. Low percent, when you look at this lead mines, for instance, is 0. Lack of workability, 0.14. Lack of recreational park, 0.39. Those are low percentile ranking. If you see anything with this, like the triangle and apostrophe, that shows that the percentile ranking for those places are high. That shows that places experience high level of environmental burden for the different indicators. So a location can have a low indicator, like for instance, this Baltimore. If you look at the indicator for some of the percentile ranking for some of the indicators are high and some are low. So it's not, so that means different places experiences, some indicators are high in different areas. So it has different exposure, environmental exposure, different environmental exposure are happening in those locations. So you know what is a census tract, as I explained. So this is how to identify a census tract. It's normally an 11-digit code. So the 2-digit consists is for the state. For Maryland, 24 is the code for Maryland. So you look at Prince George County is 033. Then you look at the tract ID. So a combination of these gives us the 11-digit code for that particular census tract. So when you want to generate a report, most times it will give you the tract number for that location. So how do we use this data? This data can be used to identify places that require special attention, that require additional resources, that require health equity. It also can be used to inform the public and inform our decision makers of what is happening, the characteristics or uniqueness of what is happening in the different communities and what can be done to alleviate the suffering of the communities. And it can also use it as a benchmark to establish goals and make progress towards environmental justice and health equity. So what's the limitation of the tool? So the tool, one of the limitations that the tool doesn't have other the data for other US territory. The tool cannot represent all exposure in a community. And the tool cannot really tell whether an individual is at risk because data is limited. So the tool cannot give you all the environmental factors that are happening or all the environmental exposures that a community is facing. So one thing about the CDC EJ index is that it has the data can be downloaded into the Esri software, and you can generate maps from that data. And one of the things we do at the Siege Center, we help communities, we help our partners create maps or EJ profile for their community. If you want a map showing specific, to show what specific exposures, or for instance, this is asthma, looking at asthma in the state of Maryland. So we can use the ArcGIS software to produce those maps and see in details what is happening. And those maps can be generated at the census tract level, at the county level, at the city level. So at the Siege Center, we're happy to help to make maps for you to know what exactly is happening in the various communities. So what does the CDC Environmental Index, it's focused on community most at need. It helps shape public health interventions. It guides and supports research. It tracks changes through time against meaningful goals. So this, we are the Siege Center, we're part of the GIS department, and we have several GIS workshops during the course of the year that models all these environmental justice tools. So if you check our website, you can see when the next workshop will be held. We've done the EPA, the Siege, we've done the MDJ screen tools. So we have different environmental justice tools workshop coming up in the course of the year. This is to help our communities be able to navigate these tools, use these tools to find out what's happening in their community and take action to implement changes in their various communities. So I'm going to take us to the tool. Excuse me. So this is the landing page for the tool. This is their website. There you have the fact sheet. You can click on it to get different information, the technical documentation. It gives you the data, where the data is from, how the EGI was calculated, the values, the weight of all the indicators. It also gives you, it shows you how the data, the EGI, the indicators and how it was calculated. You have the downloadable data. That was where I got the data from to create the maps that I showed you earlier. They frequently ask questions. So going to the website, you have a load of information that you can use to further understand the tool. So clicking on Explore the tool will bring you to the tool. This is it. Excuse me. This is what the tool looks like. So it gives you a brief rundown on how to navigate the tool. You can use it to select your states. It has all the states. You can pick which state you're interested in looking at. You can pick which county. You want to look at all counties, you pick that. So this is showing you all counties in Maryland. So using the search bar, you can go to specific locations. You can use the search bar to type an address. If you want to look at an address, a school, or a particular community, just use the search bar to type it, and the tool will zoom to that location. Then when you choose what you want to see, this is the domain ranking. So clicking on this will show you the domain ranking for that. So you look at air pollution. When you hover over it, it gives you the percentile. So air pollution is 0.8, transportation 0.4, built environment 0.4, 0.4, 0.7, racial minority 0.6. So hovering on will give the EJI for each of those indicators. If you want to look at the cumulative impacts, so this also the legend pops up that shows you. Okay, let's so MD, let's look at Maryland. Let's look at maybe Allegheny County. You see, if you zoom, the tool will zoom to that location. I will give you the index for each of the indicators. That is what is happening, the percentile ranking for each of those indicators in that place. Then you can also, this gives you more information about the EJI, what it's about, the domain ranking, how it's calculated, the percentile, how to identify the data sets, and how to use the tool. Like I said earlier, it gives you a rundown at the base of specific areas that are experiencing harsh environmental pollutions, such as the Flint in Michigan, the Warren County, North Carolina, St. John Valley. So these are places that are experiencing really bad environmental conditions and adverse health. So it's a very simple tool to navigate. Very simple tool to navigate. You can download the data here. You can submit your feedback on this. You can also access data from here. It's such an easy tool, and it gives you a cumulative score for what is happening in that location. So I'm going to stop here and see if there are any questions.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. That is very informative. I really enjoyed the tour, and that's an important tool. I am a high school science teacher, and I'd like to share this with science teachers in the Baltimore, Washington region, how to use this to make sense of this data, because I see a lot of opportunities for research projects and understanding the nature and the purpose and the utility of data when trying to solve problems. You mentioned downloading the data, and I thought I heard you specifically say it would download in ArcGIS. Do you have to have an account for ArcGIS in order to view the maps? Or is there perhaps a PDF, it downloads as a PDF, perhaps?
No, the data downloads as a spreadsheet.
Okay.
As an Excel, we can look at it. So you can either download it as a database. That's if you have the ArcGIS website software, and you just open into it, or you download it as a CBS file. So if you click on this, so
while we're waiting for that to download, I have a second question for you. The EPA EJ screen compares two variables side by side. I noticed that in the CDC's EJI tool, they compare the different vulnerabilities and indicators along the left margin. Is there a way to, and then it's a cumulative, so it's a different approach, it looks like, than the EPA EJ screen.
yeah, it's a different approach. The EPA EJ screen use a single environmental indicator. for instance, PM 2.5, and multiplies it by the demographic indicator, that is people of color and low income. So that single indicator multiplied by the socioeconomic indicators form the EJI index, which is now converted to percentile. But the CDC has a cumulative approach. It sums up all the data. It divides them into 3 different modules: environmental, health, social vulnerability, averages each of these data and sum everything up to give a single cumulative score for a census tract or anywhere you want to view. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Hello?
It does.
Can you see here?
No, it does. Sorry, the mic was being passed to me. No, it does. It's a different approach, and
it's a different approach.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's all. And I like it because when you have to compare 2 screens with teenagers, it isn't always obvious how to convey the correlations or the seeming associations between 2 variables. But the CSV file, I'm really interested. Is there a way? You'd have to have a GIS account. So that's the way to look at the map.
That's the way to look at the maps. You must have an Esri account. So this the shapefile or the CSV file is and this is the ArcGIS Pro software. So you have to have this software to be able to create the map.
I think teachers may be able to get a free account. I think educators can.
Yes, I think
so.
There's a free account, but yeah, everybody has a free, like a practice. Yeah.
And do you know,
so
can you overlay data in that GIS environment? So if you took the CDC EJI tool, downloaded it in ArcGIS, can you then go and grab more data and layer it on, like energy sources,
yes,
or sources of pollution?
Yes, you can get the census data, any data you want, and overlay it over the data. So you can, that's the advantage of being able to open it in the ArcGIS Esri platform or the software. So you can add any data. So if I wanted to maybe put census data in here, I'll just go to census, add the data, and overlay it over this particular one. So but I would maybe make it color coded, maybe a proportional symbol, or make it a dot map, and it will show on it will show the other data that was brought in alongside this one. So it can be done. Yes, you can add any, even the EPA EJ screen as well. You can add any data you want and overlay the data. So if you have maybe a data that is not available that you want to view, definitely bring it to the software, overlay it with what you have, and it will show the score. And we're happy to help. That's what we're here for.
Thank you.
Any more questions? So, like I said, we have different workshops during the course of the year where we model these EJ screen tools to the communities, and we can also create EJ profiles for you using the EPA EJ screen tool, the CDC tool. We generate the report, we create a map showing what is happening in those different communities. And also the PowerPoints, any of the PowerPoints, if you are interested in the PowerPoints, just reach out to us and we'll make it available. Any more questions? So the tool is It's an easy tool to navigate. It's very easy. The same thing with the EPA, EJ screen tool. They are all easy to navigate. And there are step-by-step instructions in the documentation that shows you how to make use of the tool. And like I said before, that data can be downloaded, can put into a software, and just manipulate the data, create something you want to view. These tools are really powerful tools. They are quite interesting. And for the Maryland, we have tools. In the Siege Center, we created the Maryland EJ screen tool. It was demoed today. We're also working on the Mid-Atlantic region. That's the region 3 tool. We'll soon make that public, all to show the environmental burden and environmental conditions, communities that are facing adverse pollution and health effects in the different regions. So we have those tools coming up.
So it's me again. I've
Sure.
another question. There's so many EJ screens or tools out there. There's EPA, there's this one, there's the White House, and then there are university tools like they are EJ atlases or EJ databases, and it's really exciting that all this information is being made available. I'm curious, which one do you prefer is your go-to? Maybe it depends on the question you're asking, but like,
yeah.
Give us a hot tip. What's the low-hanging fruit that's easy to use?
It depends on what you want to look at. Like you said, it depends on the indicators you want to look at. It depends on the variables. It depends on what you want to compare. Because each of the tools do not have, if you want a single, if you want a cumulative score, then I think the CDC, because it has the score, is cumulative. But if you don't mind, you just want the indicator and indicator scores, that the EPA has that. So they all has its uses. They are all very important, powerful tools that we can navigate and get information about the environment. Personally, I don't have any preference. It depends on what I'm looking for. Depends on what I want to map. It depends on the score I want. Like for the EPA, the 90, because they're all color coded for the EPA, 95 percentile and above is red. So that points your attention to that location, that something critical is happening here. But for the CDC, it's 0.75 percentile. So they all have different rankings. So it actually really depends on what you want to see. If you want to look at maybe more remote, you can look at the Maryland EJ screen tool, or you want to look at regions. So there are so many things. You want to look at transportation, there's a dot mapper for transportation. So it just depends on what you want to look at, what you want to view.
And then do you do
there are so many things out there. Mm-hmm.
Do you do any work with the NASA satellite data? Do you take a look at things like, does your, the range of statistical mapping tools that you offer through Siege? Do you also consider satellite data for things like, NOx, for example, maybe also rainfall, flood maps? There's so many tools out there.
There's so many, yeah.
Yeah.
We have, for our mapping, we bring in a lot of data from different sources. We bring in data from FEMA, from climate data from FEMA. We take data from the EPA, the CDC, the NASA, anywhere we can find data. So we have and we now group them into indicators. Those that are similar, we group them into the population burden indicator, population characteristics indicator, population pollution effects indicators. So we group all this data into different indicators and into domains, and now generate. But for the Siege, the maps we have, the tools we've made, we always use a cumulative score, drawing from the CAL EJ screen tool. using their model to create our own cumulative scores. So we take data from all over, yeah.
Okay, thank
From
you.
the sensors, yeah. So please look out for our workshops. It will be, the flyers is on our website. We have different workshops coming on, modeling the different tools. We're actually supposed to model park equity today and climate and health equity, but there was a slight issue with the server, so we decided to go with the EPA and the CDC. So those other workshops are coming up during the course of the year. So please be on the lookout for those workshops. I'll be glad to have you. Any more questions? If there are no questions, please, you can, like I said, you can reach us at the SIG Center. You can go to the front desk. If you need any technical assistance, we're happy to help. Need us to generate maps for you, we're happy to help. And welcome once again to the SIG 23 Symposium. I hope you're having a good time, and I hope you've at least learned something from this presentation, which you can use to be able to maybe educate other people or communities on how to identify things that are absent or not right in their environment. And if there are no further questions, I would like to close out this session. And thank you once again for attending. Bye.
Thank you.